It's been exactly a week since the revelation that Patriots owner Bob Kraft was charged with soliciting prostitution at a seamy massage parlor in Florida. Since then, the media has pondered a range of issues surrounding the story, even bringing up a mysterious old extortion case. The news of Bob Kraft's arrest was plastered across front pages everywhere and made the nightly news, night after night.
What investigators have now revealed tonight as Robert Kraft returned to Boston with his star quarterback.
The media has had to wrestle with the distinction between prostitution and sex trafficking, which hasn't been so clear.
Now, New England Patriots owner Robert Kraft stands at the center of a sex trafficking scandal.
So the issue is, did Kraft buy sex from a sex worker or pay for sex from a trafficking victim?
New England Patriots owner Robert Kraft has pleaded not guilty.
Meanwhile, it was good to learn that Patriots fans are disappointed in the owner but still love the team, as evidenced by quotes from these guys. Apparently, there are no women Pats fans. Further muddying the waters, the Boston Globe's Joan Vanacchi reminded readers that back in 2009, a local prominent businessman was caught up in a sex scandal and his name was kept private, unlike what's happening now.
Other high-profile men include billionaire equity firm owner John Childs, Johnny Dupree, the boyfriend of golfer Jessica Korda, and former Citigroup president John Havens.
The good news in all of this, if it's the right phrase, a spotlight on the ugly underbelly of the world of sex for hire. I have to say I'm not really critical at all of the media in the way they've gone after that. They really have, to use the old phrase, overturned every stone looking at this every way to Sunday. But this whole idea that that Bob Kraft was paraded out in a way and made sort of the center of the story, we wouldn't be talking about it if that weren't the case. I mean, our own Philip Martin from WGBH has been talking about just this kind of thing. These little massage parlors all over Massachusetts, all over the country. It's a common thread. And he, too, has had to parse out whether it's sex trafficking. Sometimes the women are held against their will. Sometimes they're not. We don't really know in the case of the Bob Kraft people if they were not. None of those women are talking. A lot of them don't speak English. And as you, I think, mentioned last week, John, that the whole investigation was a little shady.
Well, Sports Illustrated had an excellent column just the other day about how, at least so far, inconclusive this investigation seems to be. There's been only one woman charged in it. No one's talking. We haven't yet seen any of the evidence. Of course, that's going to supposedly come out now that Kraft has pled not guilty. They'll ostensibly be a court proceeding. But, you know, it's a Florida County Sheriff's Office, and not to disparage a whole class of law enforcement. That wouldn't be fair. But haven't we in the past, most recently in Parkland, seen how competence is not necessarily a trademark of every one of those organizations?
And I would say outside of any single jurisdiction, generally, at this stage of an investigation, prosecutors hold the cards in a story like this. They control the narrative. They control the information. You're not going to hear nearly as much from defendants. In general, you only hear a not guilty plea from defendants. So, you know, it is set aside the cases of this particular story. It is tough to be a defendant in the court of public opinion at a stage like this. And it's something that, you know, that everyone kind of needs to keep in mind. That, you know, there's still a process. There's still innocent until proven guilty. That said, I think you're right that it's very valuable to get information about trafficking, the pervasiveness of it, the way it works. And without the high-profile defendant, it's hard to get the story out there.
And that's context that it would behoove the media to point out, not just in this case, but much more often in these criminal cases.
Well, if there's anything good that's coming out of this, it's the focus on human trafficking and sex slavery as an issue. And I know that Philip Martin and Jennifer McKim have done tremendous reporting for WGBH News about this topic. The problem is, as you say, there's so little we know about the specifics of this case. What is Bob Kraft actually being charged with being involved in human trafficking?
No, he's not.
He's not. Was he aware? Should he have been aware? All these questions are completely unanswered. The fact is, to this point, he's been charged with a misdemeanor, which suggests that the legal jeopardy he finds himself in, though significant, is there's a limit to it. It's a misdemeanor. It's not a felony.
Yeah, and yet he's going to trial. I think that's very interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yep.
I expect him to, get a hand slap at the end of this. I don't care how it turns out, because he's quite wealthy and has some resources, and the NFL will give him, $15,000 fine, which he pays for with Starbucks, every month, something like that. But here's the thing that I think is very important in the journalism that's come out. That for me, the important stories have been, why are all these wealthy men attracted? And he said that was in a fantastic, because that was my question, and I'm like, what is happening? And also to hear from the people who have been exploited, who are now saying quite clearly that if you say sex trafficking or prostitution, it really is not very much distinct, that they're saying the exploitation is such that we really need to pay attention to this whole murky affair in a different way. And we are doing that as a result of this, and we wouldn't, of course, if he weren't there. Because I think that we need to think about all of the full ramifications, and I've been very impressed with that journalism. So it's turned out it is Robert Kraft's story, but actually it's bigger than that.
But there's been other stories, like I found that story about, they feel bad about Bob Kraft, but they still have faith in the team. I mean, it was shallow, because I really believe that Bob Kraft has tainted the team. You're not going to be able to you're not going to be able to watch a game the same way. There's Bob Kraft. He's so distinctive, sitting in the Kraft box there on the 50-yard line. I mean, you're going to think of it every time. It's associative.
Well, it'll be brought up.
Of course it will be.
I don't know if it'll be brought up. Honestly, I could see it. I could
well,
see
that's
it another
another thing, because a lot of the sports people have treated this story differently. Over at 98.5, they're still calling him Mr. Kraft.
Well, you are talking about here.
And
people hate these people here. I mean, outside of Boston.
Oh, yeah.
But let it be clear, they'll be bringing it up.
Yeah, but not necessarily the sportscasters.
I don't know. I don't know. I think in the rest of the country, they're
The
just
NFL
waiting for a chance.
Yeah, I can see it being
that happen.
adjudicated, and everyone moves on, and everyone just moves on.
Do you think the NFL is going to let them talk about that? I don't think so.
Well, how do you stop sportscasters in other places from bringing it up?
You work for the NFL.
Well, I don't think everybody works for the NFL. I guess maybe I'm stupid. I don't know.
I don't.
You know.
Yeah,
I
but
just
we're
think
not
this is
calling
a
the games.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
All right.